Hello, Stephen. How are you?
Great, Georgie. How are you? Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for accepting my invitation. I'm great. I was thinking today that it's so crazy that I got to talk to you because I've been watching your channel when I was like in my last years of the university, and after I don't know 5 years maybe, I somehow connected with you and I got to talk to you and get to know you. So I'm like a little bit like a fanboy.
That's always so weird to hear because I've heard that like from other people or people I meet in some architectural offices that they studied with me and then they graduated and stuff. And it makes me feel so old because I think I've made videos for like a ton of years now, but it's not been that it hasn't been that long. It's been like I don't know, 4 or 3 years making videos, but still in 4 or 3 years, a lot of people graduate. So I can understand where that comes from. And if I were to again, meet with people that I've also listened to in tutorials throughout my career, I would also be a fanboy. So I'm a big fanboy of a lot of YouTubers. So I can understand that.
I'm not so much like the kind of fanboy that thinks, oh my god, it's so impossible to talk to you or something. I just
Yeah.
think it's that it's like mm, the way we interacted to make the podcast possible. I'm always surprised to see that so many successful, like, I don't like to say successful, but like accomplished maybe content creators are very accessible, and that makes me like happy about humanity in general, because like I've got to to try to convince many people to join me for a conversation, and sometimes I like people that just say no, I can't, rather than some people that act like very important. And the fact that you were so positive and like really easygoing, really, that was the whole thing that hyped up the whole fanboy.
No, and the thing is, I'm kind of embarrassed because because I noticed later on that you contacted me through Instagram, through the Let's Show It Better Instagram, which I received a lot of messages. And sometimes I try to respond some of them, but some I can't because they just get lost in the conversation. Because I mean, it's not because I'm important or I have a lot of things to do or I don't want to respond to people, but sometimes there's just a lot of messages or just replies and stuff. But when you contacted me through my personal Instagram, I noticed and I was like, hey, yeah, that would be super cool to talk with you because I've listened to the podcast. I'm like, when would I have the opportunity to be in this podcast? There's so many cool people that he's inviting. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. But after I noticed that you had like months before, I don't know, like 2 or 3 months before, also sent me an invitation. I was kind of embarrassed, but yeah, we're here and we made it possible.
Well, like, that's not a problem. That's not what I meant, because one of the mastery of getting the best guests is to find the side doors, because it's normal that if you have so many followers, there will be many messages. So you have to go in different channels in different ways. And to be honest, like sometimes I act like, you know, a little bit, I go for the big numbers. So I text a lot of people, and then at the end something sticks. So
Like
so
shoot 1,000 to see to make 10 stick or whatever.
I mean, like I was spamming Bjorky Ingels, and twice he replied. Like the first time he said, "No, I don't have
He
time."
replied.
Yeah, he
Okay.
replied, and
Wow. But so you got to reply. That's a feat.
the second time I shared another podcast that he did, and he liked the message, and I was like, "Hey, dude, like I bought your books, and I'm thinking about doing like a review about your books, and maybe
Yeah.
then afterwards you can come over and talk about it." And he was like, "Oh, that's cool. I kind of want to hear what you're gonna talk about me." And then he followed the podcast. And I was like, "Okay, see, you have to be like persistent. You cannot go to the beautiful girl and say, 'Let's go out,' and they'll be like, 'Yes,' right away. No, you have to try over and over."
So you're completely right. Sometimes we we overestimate some things, and I talked to Björk as well, like in kind of like I posted a story with his books and he responded to me as well, and we had like a very short but Like I was kind of amazed in the conversation that he responded and stuff. Like he responded at the minute that I texted him. I was like, what? And yeah, sometimes we make a big deal out of people or out of things, and they're just like normal people that can respond, that have an Instagram and they check their messages. So it's cool to see that.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's like they're people too. So like,
Yeah.
I mean, they're just probably busier. That's it. But let's talk about you. Like enough about Björk Ingels. Like everybody in the architecture world probably likes him or hates him,
Or
but
hates him. Yeah.
they are the two groups. But I'm very curious. Like first of all, we were talking about the fact that I was watching to your channel when I was a student, and I want to comfort you that I'm not that old. I'm 29, so it's not
I'm
like
29 as well. We're the same age.
so yeah, so probably you were smarter at school than I was.
No, I don't think so. I think I was just, a little bit have more skilled in some parts, but not smarter. I'm really actually pretty dumb in many things for architects. So, don't feel bad.
But I'm curious, like, what is the reason you decided to become an architect? Like when you were a teenager or a kid, is it because some family member it's already an architect? And by the way, your first guest from Colombia on the podcast.
Wow, I feel so honored. Thank you. I hope there are many more from Colombia in the future or from South America. But I guess I started studying architecture, or I decided to study architecture because for many reasons. One of them was it was kind of like the easiest career in my scope of what I wanted to do, because I like drawing, I like graphic design, like I was very into the visuals of everything, but I did not like the technical aspects of things. So all the engineering side, I wanted to stay away from it. Anything that had math, I wanted to stay away from. But I also found another reason was that another false reason maybe that I did believe at that time when I was 14 or 15 was that architecture had a lot of money in it. Like if you studied architecture, you were eventually going to become, more or less wealthy, and obviously that was a lie. But those were one of the like two main reasons which I decided to study architecture. It was between architecture, graphic design, and music. Music, it kind of like got blown up like really 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 fast because it was very hard making money. Graphic design, I couldn't find a good university to do it, so I decided for architecture. And well, I had no idea I was going to become eventually like a YouTuber, but here we are.
By the way, in the meanwhile, your webcam started working for some reason. I don't see you
Oh,
anymore.
sorry. Something weird with when I connect to Zoom, that sometimes I don't like disconnect anything and just the camera goes off. So weird.
And basically, you wanted to become a graphic designer. In some sense, you became rather more designer with like because
Yeah.
your site and your YouTube channel. Like for the people who don't know yet, like you do the Show It Better YouTube channel and the Instagram account. Now it's more like a platform, let's say, or a hub. So you joined. Which university did you join to study architecture?
I did my undergraduate degree in a university in Bogota, Colombia, in the capital, which is called La Gran Colombia University. It's like a very normal university. It's not like a top-notch university. And when I was in third year or second year of school, I went to Argentina for a year to study over there to make like an academic exchange. And I later, after I graduated, I started doing a master's in architecture in another university here in Colombia. But right now, like it got on pause for a minute because I got too busy with work and with Show It Better, and it was honestly a little bit much more interesting to do all of this. But eventually, I want to keep on studying many things. I want to do maybe a master's in literature or history, and something around that topic.
But you were at the Masters University for Architecture, and then you interrupted it because of the what is called the channel.
Yeah, it was because I was working at that time. I didn't have the channel developed, and I had to have like a full-time job plus the channel plus pay the university. So it was kind of hard for me at that moment to because I was in the moment of my thesis. So it wasn't like I'm just taking like normal you know classes. It was like a very heavy thesis, like only writing, only investigation. And I was just like, let's just keep on working for now. Let's just save up some money, and later I could continue with my master's. But eventually, like, this whole channel thing blew up. I got also very invested in some of the offices I was working at that time. There were very interesting projects that I was working on. So I kind of left it aside for a moment, and that was what happened.
Is it super expensive? Like, I don't know, not maybe worldwide, but compared to the local standards to join a university in Colombia in general?
Mm, uh, I don't know. It really depends on what you're comparing it to. If you're comparing it in in a Latin American perspective, where maybe in Argentina you have free education for everyone, or in Colombia you have public universities that are totally free, or you pay a very, very little amount, but they're only like two or three good quality public universities, and the rest are private universities. Then getting a good quality education is expensive. And if you want to go to for master's degree, for postgraduate degree, it is expensive. But in comparison to maybe what it would cost in the United States, it's not even there.
No, but I'm like meaning because you meant that you needed to pay also the university. So I assume you were at one of the private one. Um,
Yeah.
Compared to the what you can earn in Colombia, because like maybe
Oh
something
no.
is not expensive for the German standard, but the German money you don't get in Colombia as a regular citizen. So
Yeah, it's expensive because as an architect, like as a normal architect here in Colombia in a normal office, you don't win as much money as you think you do. And that is just like an average salary. Like if you're a lawyer, an architect, an engineer, you have more or less, and you're like 2 years of graduated of university, you have an average salary. So it doesn't make you wealthy, make you rich. You're like, you have just enough to rent your apartment, to pay your debts, but not like to go and study abroad or study in the best university possible. So it is expensive.
yeah, that's interesting. And at what point did you discover that, like, or were you always talented into um, like the what you do for your channel, basically drawing and representing things, where it was something that you discover when studying and you learn it there?
Yeah, I think I've been discovering it. I'm still kind of trying to discover it, because every day, like well, not every day, but like every 2 or 3 years, I find out that I like something else, or that I like a very specific thing. So I'm trying to refine my taste as I get older. But at that time, when I was studying, maybe when I was in second year or third year of school, I started discovering YouTube, because that was around 2012, 2011. So, YouTube was becoming much more popular for tutorials, for, doing things. So I started discovering Alex Hogerfer, which is, like the godfather of this whole thing. And I started discovering his tutorials. I started applying them in school. And after I applied them, a lot of people approached to me and say, "Hey, how did you guys learn this? How can you do this for me? Can you make my thesis? Can you make this render?" So I started getting jobs since second year, third year of architecture school. And in there, I noticed that I had not like a technical proficiency for any program. I wasn't like proficient in V-Ray or Photoshop or whatever, but I did have like an interest for like visually appealing images. And that meant, like, I was trying to develop my eye as sort of like a visual designer or whatever. And after that, I started developing it more, making a business out of it a little bit more. So I started doing more freelance jobs of rendering of, yeah, mostly images. And eventually that kind of developed into what I, to the jobs I got. So if I went into in a specific architectural office, I would naturally get into that role of the person who does renders, the person who like visually arranges a whole project for competitions. So that's kind of where it all started with Alex Hokofer.
And thanks to that website, Visualizing Architecture, I think is the way that I found you, because I was watching his videos on YouTube, and of course the algorithm, when you start watching a certain thing, it shows you similar things, and then I found your account, and then I checked some stuff on your account, and I was like, oh, that's like similar but different, like different visual styles. So it was really really nice. But you started like you got inspired by Alex, and then you also liked YouTube. At some point, like how did you realize, okay, I should start doing this too? And did you have like what is called this imposter syndrome, that you think, oh, if I start doing the same thing, I will be like just copying him. I feel like I'm, because I have this a lot, like when I started a podcast, I had like it was very like difficult, and especially to also get guests on the podcast. The first guest, it's always hard. Like even my friends didn't want to do it because they were like didn't want to come and be like, we don't know what you're doing, like this is sketchy, so yeah, we're gonna be, but not the first one. And yeah, I was wondering, like, how didn't you feel at some point, like at the beginning, maybe that you were just copying somebody, or how was the feeling of starting?
Oh my gosh, I feel that almost like every day, like that I'm an imposter, and I still feel it. I think I'm gonna keep on feeling it, but I've just tried to manage it. At first, it was hard because the biggest problem is always starting. Is always start, like for a project like this is like the decision to start to create that email, to create that first video, to edit it, to hit publish. That's like the hardest part. But after that, it kind of gets easier with each video. And I didn't, I mean, there was a certain time where I had graduated university. I had already worked in many offices. I wasn't that kind of like enamored or enthusiastic of what was happening in like in a typical architect's life. I thought it was going to be a little bit more exciting, but as soon as I saw that all of the offices or around like my context was more or less the same job, the same task, we were all like doing the same kind of projects, I was pretty bored very quickly, and I was like, I was trying to do something else, and there was one gap where I was unemployed, and I was like, let's just see if this YouTube thing can work. I did not know it was going to be like specifically towards architecture or architecture topic based. So I started two channels. One was this one, Show It Better, and the other one was I don't know how it's a channel in Spanish that was like mainly for culture, like kind of like a Vox type of channel, but where I talked about different kinds of things in Colombian culture and Latin American culture. Very cool. And like I had the logos, the channel ideas, the like everything for both channels. It was just my decision to see like which one I would like to do best. So I started with both channels, and this one took off very quick, and the other one was very very slow, and I had to design topics, and it wasn't going as well. So I kept on with Show It Better. um I did not know it was going to be like a whole business at that time, but I did know kind of that you could make an income, sort of. So I started creating videos, and as soon as I started creating videos, I started thinking of because the majority of videos at that time were tutorials based. Like, hey, how do you create this diagram? How do you create this floor plan? How do you create this render? So as soon as I published the video, I published also a Gumroad product, which it was like the PSD file, or the file which people can download it and also, follow along with the tutorial, kind of like a mini course. And it started with that, with like those two aspects of it, and then it evolved into something bigger, like courses, the Instagram page, just like a whole community around Show It Better, and more people that were also trying to teach very interesting things. And that was it, I guess, beginning.
But when you started, that's funny because you mentioned you started as with the other channel that was not architecture related, and I had on the podcast also the blessed architect, which is
Rishab.
Rishab, who's like also a very cool guy, and he's more like entertainment wise channel for architects. And I thought I had fun with talking to him because he's very excited about content creation. And did was your idea that you're gonna start a YouTube channel and build an audience and maybe try to earn through YouTube, or you thought like, because you were giving away your PSD files, which basically today, if you were doing the same, would be the most valuable thing. So it didn't sound like your idea is I'm gonna build an audience and teach them. Was it the plan to build an audience and maybe try to get the commercial money from YouTube, or what was the idea, or you didn't have an idea?
Well, I wasn't that lost, but I wasn't. The idea wasn't that clear from the beginning, so I did not know I could make it into what it is today, and maybe I have no idea what it is going to be in 10 years. So I have no idea what it's going to be, but I knew at that moment that you could monetize videos, that you could get some monetization from videos. So I was like, yeah, if this video can give me $10 a month, that's pretty good for me. I mean, that's all I need. I don't need anything else. But after that it evolved. If I could give me $100 a month, if you give me like $1,000 a month, that would be pretty cool. But after I saw that there wasn't, living off of AdSense, of YouTube AdSense, because it's kind of hard, because we're not the type of people that are making viral videos every day, or we're not like super interesting characters that can vlog. I can vlog myself in my office reading a book, and everyone's like 2 million views, 3 million views, really interested in looking at it. No, there are videos that are meant to have a lot of value in them, that try to teach something in each video. And it can be very hard to make one video or 2 videos per month. And after seeing how hard it is to actually make money from AdSense, I started seeing other ways or other streams of income in trying to like evolve like the whole Show It Better business. So I guess I started making courses. I started creating the Instagram page where I could have a little bit more of a following, and monetizing a little bit more, like different aspects of the whole content world, which now is very normal to hear, and everyone is very familiar now with it. But maybe in 2016, 2015, it wasn't that normal. So that was kind of new to everyone, and everyone was trying to discover like, hey, how do we make money out of this? But right now, I think everyone's very familiar of, if an influencer, how he works, how she works, and how they gain money. So I'm kind of like in that whole influencer economy, but inside of the architectural world as well.
Yeah, and what is curious to me, it's as somebody that it's a content creator on the side. I mean, I don't think I don't think I can call myself a content creator, because I don't have the same magnitude as your channel.
No, but still, you're creating content that is valuable to at least 10 people, or at least 100 people, whatever. So, I mean,
at least 100. At least 100. Don't be so.
No, yeah.
I'm joking.
No, I'm sorry. I was like, let's throw a random number.
I'm joking. I'm joking.
No, at least 1,000 people. Come on.
No joke. It was a good spot to do a joke. What were I learned a lot of things, although I still don't do the stuff in a super great way, because it's just hard, and I don't know. the thing is that I have fun doing the podcast, but I don't have fun doing all the other side, the things that people don't see, because it's not so easy. Like people see, oh, you sit here, you chat with the people, and then just put it on whatever. And but there is like finding the people, try to get them to answer, organize it. But then all the people ask the same question. So okay, maybe if people ask the same question, you have to automatize the whole process, and so on and so on. But and you have to learn how to edit audio, but you've never edited audio before, uh, and so many things. What did you need to? How did you start? What was like? Also, because some people always procrastinate starting because they say, "I don't know how to edit video. I have to first learn to," and they never do. And so, what skills did you have in the beginning, and what were all the things that you learned along the way?
I had no skills. I had no skills. I can create renders. I knew Photoshop, but apart from that, I had no other skills that relate to content creation or to marketing or to every part of this world. But I think I had to learn it because there was no one else. I couldn't afford anyone else. And right now, I'm still have like my role has become much more of a manager, and it's one of the most boring things, to be honest, because responding emails, getting video ideas, recording scripts, or editing videos is sometimes just not as fun as it would seem or as you would think when you're like, hey, I want to become a YouTuber, I want to become a content creator. So sometimes those things can be very, very boring. The most exciting part is probably hitting publish or actually creating an image, actually working on an image. So I started working with very basic tools like Premiere, like Instagram, like Photoshop. But eventually, because all this and like in this whole roller coaster ride, I had to learn to talk to clients about partnerships, to talk to I had to learn how to make an invoice. I had to learn oh my god, so many things. But the most technically difficult things were like the recording process of it, of how to get a good camera in front of you, how to have good microphone sound, the good lighting, how to edit it well, how to put good background music, something that I'm still learning. Then after learning in After Effects, how to maybe make your name appear and disappear. Some things that maybe took a video, maybe in 2016, a video took about 2 weeks to make, and now the process has gotten a little bit more shorter, maybe around a day or 2 days. So I'm still trying to learn a lot of things, but it's certainly a process that is very hard to learn, because there are a lot of technical things that you have to learn, a lot of programs that you have to learn. And obviously, as an architect, you're never trained for that. You're trained, if anything, to create architecture, but still, I think you're not trained as much as you would have to learn like in the real field. So being an architect that has to learn Premiere Pro, that has to learn how to speak in front of a camera, that has to learn how to respond emails every day, how to make an Instagram carousel, whatever, is very time consuming and hard, but it's not impossible. I mean, anyone can actually do it if they try and do it. But it's about trying to understand what ideas you want to communicate, which I think is like like the main seed that I want to plant in my head always. Like, hey, what is the idea that I want to communicate? And after, we can talk about the programs, or we can talk about the effects or the settings, whatever. But before all of that, you have to understand that you want to communicate an idea to a person or to a community, and that is it.
Yeah, that's so true because I like to follow Gary V. I don't know if you know him. He's like sort of I don't know, he's now a media entrepreneur. He's an entrepreneur in general, and I love when he says like that your Instagram is not your fucking art gallery, but it's like something that you communicate with to people with. And he has this very uncensored language. And I like people that are more uncensored. I don't know. I think in Italy we say like that when you use when you use swear words, that's like reformative to what you want to express in the sentence. Because like if I tell you let's meet tomorrow at 9, you'll be like, yeah, let's meet at 9. But if I tell you fuck, let's meet tomorrow at 9, like okay, I have to really be there. So
Yeah.
I like this concept. And one thing that I really I understood, like I understand the pain you have passed through, because I also, for me, was even like a little bit worse, because yeah, not so, I hate myself on camera, so maybe it would be, that's why I maybe don't want to do the video editing, because I hate like, and I hated my voice in the beginning, so it was really hard to edit my audio, because I was like, oh, and now I'm used to it, and I sometimes listen to the podcast, because it's more relaxing when I just have to listen than to talk, because I don't have to focus on anything else. Um, and yeah, I was wondering if you, and then what I did in the beginning is to don't feel so depressed, is to go to channels that I like and go on the videos or on the podcast and do sort by oldest, and go check the first video they did and be like, those motherfuckers suck too. So it's okay. I wanted to know if you have deleted the first videos or they're still there and this is the really first videos. Because the last video I just checked, it was 5 years ago. And I think it was the video that I watched for the first time, because I mean, I don't know, they're all kind of yellowish, but like the color of the whole logo and people that gonna go check it, but it's didn't look bad. It would look like cool.
No, I still have the first videos. I mean, I erased only I think two videos. One was because at that time I didn't know. I was still trying to explore many things, and I was making some videos that were not architecture centered. So I was making like a tutorial on how to, I don't know what was the topic, but like a very Photoshop technically you know efficient hack or whatever. And eventually I erased them because they had nothing to do with architecture, so I have erased them. But the rest are my original videos. Sometimes it's really hard to listen to my voice back then, to see those videos, because they're really cringe and it's very uncomfortable. But eventually, like if I still trying to see a video from 6 months ago, I kind of cringe as well, because I, each, like you're always changing things. You're always maybe changing a microphone, changing the format, speaking differently, trying to make the introduction parts different. So I always cringe at my last, like my previous videos, because I think the next one is always going to be the best. But it's something that you accept, and you understand that people don't like you or dislike you if you have a really bad voice or uncomfortable voice, but mostly if you delivered value or not in that video. And some of my most popular videos today are still videos from 3 or 4 years ago, that people still want to watch, that people are still watching. So I can't just like erase it and be like, let's just forget all about this, because a lot of people don't even give like a fuck about that. They just wanted to go to the video and see, how to actually do this, how do I actually create this render or whatever. So it's very cringe, but I'm trying, I try to navigate it.
Yeah, I think that I will forever leave my first very cringy podcast in 15 minutes, which I record with my headphones and my phone. And I was like, I all scripted it, and it was like I was sitting in my wardrobe, because there was the better like sound there. And I was like starting sharing with like my family and people. I was like, oh my God, why I'm doing this? But then in the end I was like, okay, like let's keep doing it for a year and see how it goes. And I kept doing it. And I think that I was really happy that I got all the chances to talk to people like you and all the guests that I had on the podcast. I had an excuse, at least I had an excuse to talk with all the people that I kind of always have been following, but they didn't know about me. And now I had the chance to chat with them. But
You know what the crazy was? I'm sorry. The
yeah.
crazy thing is that the first episodes I listened from your podcast, I was like, because I really like the whole like the name, the the logo, like the whole color scheme. I was like, hey, this is like a very well refined podcast. I'm like, let's just, because it's something very new inside of the architecture community to have like a very good podcast. Like there's a very like maybe more less than 10, less than 5 very good podcasts for architects that are updated, that have been publishing like frequently. So as soon as I saw yours, like, hey, this is very interesting. And as soon as I hit play and heard your voice, like this guy is like a radio host or whatever. He has a very cool voice. So I had no idea you were so insecure about your voice like back then. But so just to let you know, for a first person that hears your voice, it's a very good voice.
But the thing is, now I'm okay with my voice, but I didn't hate. So like the whole process was very hard, not only because of my voice, but because people like go on YouTube and I don't know, check your videos, check Peter McKinnon, check I don't know, Matt Davella, all these guys that do these
Yeah.
videos, and they're like, "Hello guys, let's go, let's do that," and then it feels so normal, and then when you gotta do it yourself, you're like, what the hell I'm doing? Like I'm so stupid. And that was very, very hard for me. And because I tend to be a guy that likes the shiny parts of something. Like if I would do photography, I would like the best camera. If I do podcasts, I would like the best microphone and so on. And I was like, I cannot spend hundreds of euros into gear and then don't do it. So I'll force myself to do it with the phone until I don't reach the like free limit I had in that platform that I was using for sharing my podcast. And if I really like it, I'll I'll start small and level it up, and this is how I started. And then also I had like you like the I was thinking before starting, because I have to always say that my girlfriend, she helped me with the branding. I did the visual part, but she helped me with the whole strategy and the branding, and because she's a brand strategist.
Uh,
And I was wondering, like, because they teach you that the first thing is to find a niche of people that you should talk to, and actually the real niche should have been like the architectural insider, because I mean, I know about architecture, I don't know, but I was like, no, I like also archviz, I like graphic design, I like design, and then I like also product design, and I had like a list of dream guests, like these people I want to talk to, and I'll start like with my friends and level up, and I always keep to talk to people that I find interesting. And this is why it's the creative insider, because so I have the opportunity to talk to different people, because I know a lot of people that niche down and they're very successful, but they sometimes be like, I don't want to do this anymore, but I have to because it's the only thing I do. And this is how it all started. And I wanted to do it violet because everybody have black and white or yellow or orange, and I was like, okay, let's do it violet.
no, but it's like a very good, like the brand. Obviously, it's very good, but the whole market you're going towards is something that I would be interested in, like something that many architects I know would be interested in, like to not be architecture centered, but to be like design centered is something that maybe a lot of people are much more interested than you would think, because with the people you're talking to are people that are inside of our industry, just outside of it, and have interesting things to talk about.
Yes, and I did it because I was talking a lot with my girlfriend and what she does like at her work. Because before I knew her, I didn't know like what a brand strategist is, and I still don't know exactly. But basically, it's more or less building a foundation and then building up on the brand and stuff like that. So it's very similar process. And then everything that's design or creative or me even making music, it's very similar process. So I was thinking maybe we should influence each other. Like back in the days, they had in the 20s these cafes where people would meet, like the Great Gatsby style people, and they would share like information and philosophies and things like that. I was thinking maybe a podcast that um, people talk and share, like from graphic design to architecture to archivists. They share their struggles. They share how they figure out, because also like, you know that better than me, that when you're creative, you have so many infinite ways, and then you can get lost or think that's impossible. So that's why I wanted to be the insider to the behind the scene.
Yeah, it's something that the industry is kind of lacking. I mean, I seriously, when I try to go on Spotify every day, as I was telling you before, to find a podcast to listen to, and sometimes it's very hard to find it like an interesting podcast about architecture, about the architecture industry. And some of the interviews that you've made are very interesting, because they're not only that centered in professional aspects, but they talk about their personal life as well, how they came up. And it's something that is lacking and still needs to be explored. Like, it's like a very like we're like first generation of this whole niche that you're creating. So good job.
No, thank you. But I was influenced for the graphics from your Photoshop tutorials also. And what I'm also curious about your process is that one thing that I've learned is that you can create also like great content, but still, if you don't maybe publish it, or maybe not do the correct job with the social media or the platforms you publish it on, still people won't get to see it, because I'm probably, my worst skill is that I don't like the concept of social media. I like if people see it and follow it, but I don't want to be like, I don't like being on social media. I just have to, because I want people to get to see the podcast. Did you also have to actively learn how to deal with the YouTube algorithm, with the Instagram algorithm, or it was only like you did the classic valuable content, and people start naturally spreading it around?
No, well, it's not like a yes or no question, because it's always changing, just like the algorithm, just like the strategies that we have to use. At first, I was trying to give as much value as possible, um, and trying to share it with people, kind of like in a very spammy way. So I would go to Facebook groups, which were popular back then, and I would go to Instagram and try to share like the latest tutorial. But eventually you start seeing what is the most practical way to communicate an idea, or communicate something that you want a lot of people to hear. And that's when I realized that Instagram, at that time, when Instagram wasn't what it is today, when it was just like people posting actually photos of their everyday or whatever. And I just started curating pictures of, or drawings of, many architects or students around the world. So I started reposting around 4 drawings a day, renders, and a ton of content. And that started generating a lot of traction. And it was just like a world that was starting like to evolve in itself. Like, a lot of people were trying to get like their daily inspiration from pages like mine, and a lot of similar pages that were there back then. And eventually, just like everything, it kind of got saturated, and we had to change the strategy. And then we went back to like value-based content that was created by Show It Better. So it was like short bite-sized tutorials, or short like kind of investigations. And that it applies for YouTube as well, where at first I was just trying to make videos, and it was just trying to make videos that are have a lot of value, but still videos that are kind of clickbaity. Like, for example, like the most clickbaity videos back then were something like how to create a Bjarke-Ingels diagram style. So that was like the clickbait video to go to.
I went to that video.
Yeah.
And I had watched another video. There is one guy who was also on the podcast. He has like maybe the Italian version of it's called the Control Z blog.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
And he did a video about the the how to do a diagram, and then I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not still convinced. And then I was still googling, and at some point I saw your video, and I was like, this is also bullshit. I'm joking.
No, but I mean, you're not far from the truth. I mean, a lot of people, that's what was getting videos at that time. And I think, if today I publish a video with with his name on it, it will get a ton of views. Or,
Yeah.
whatever video you think is gonna be viral, it's gonna be viral. But after some time you realize that, hey, is it worth it to just create a ton of videos that are viral but have, like kind of like the same information? Because it was just like the same information. So I was just like, like after some time I was like, I'm gonna create the video that I want to create, or the projects that I'm working on at that time, and trying to maybe explain how to do them as well, because maybe a lot of people are working on the same problems. But it's a very good strategy to start, to get topics that are very well known, that a lot of people are looking for. So if you want to start, being a YouTuber or whatever, don't try to go for very niche topics that only but mostly towards a lot of topics that are very like fresh out the oven, and like a lot of people are talking about it. So I started. So in conclusion, to not extend myself, I've been changing strategies like every 6 months or every year. So if I start to get bored, or if I start to see that people are kind of getting bored of the same content, then we change it into something else. And that's what it's about. That's what we have to do. I think we have to try and see, like, because no one teaches us, again, in university, how to create an Instagram post, or how to be a good marketing strategist for your brand, for your architectural company. You have to start, you have to test, and you have to see it. And that's something that I'm still doing, I'm still learning, and I think we're all still learning.
Yeah, and I think that I've been watching the latest video too, where you do other stuff like about books. You did I watched the portfolio review with Oliver Thomas, who was also on my podcast. And actually, I thought that you got to know me maybe because of him, because he was on the podcast. And he's also very active now online. And I'm very happy that there are more and more channels that have their own sort of style or life. He's more focused on parametric architecture. But I think that since there is this mix of you showing yourself more on the on the channel, and also I think you have also collaborators or partners in the whole channel. I don't know, because I saw in that particular video about the portfolio one more guy. I don't know. I shout out to him, but I don't know his name. You can shout him out. I mean,
Who are
there
you talking about? I have no idea who you're talking
when
about.
you were
Oliver? No.
no, Oliver Thomas, and they were on the call, you and another guy. No, or am I completely wrong? I remember that there was another guy, or you were just you and Oliver. Like, are you always the only one in the channel?
Well, I mean, we have made some portfolio reviews with Oliver, with some invited guests.
Oh yeah, the
Like,
guest.
yeah, like Oliver Thomas, and like um yeah, some guests as well. But in the channel, like in Show It Better, for a time, like last year, we were three in total. So it was me, it was a person in charge of the social media, like the Instagram and website posts, and there was another person in charge of creating courses. And now it's kind of hard to manage people. So it's just two of us. So it's the whole social media community manager kind of, and me, which I'm kind of in like management, administration, and also creating videos.
But on that particular video, yeah, there is like you, Oliver, and one more guy in the call. So I thought that he was also like a face of the show of the channel. Like, I know your videos better than you are. I was like feeling, oh, I don't know who is it's he wears glasses too. So
Is it
maybe
Balkan Architect? Is it?
no, 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 no.
No. I
No.
have no idea who you're talking
You
about.
don't
No.
remember. You don't remember your own videos. You have to go.
Oh my gosh. So embarrassed.
That's your
No,
brother.
no, no. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's my dad. It's my dad. He makes videos with me. No, I have no idea who you're talking about, but I will look into it. Or is it David? No, I have made videos.
It's the
No, I have.
video from 6 months ago, and you guys are talking to Oliver, and like it's a call on a shared screen with three people. I was feeling so bad. I was thinking, oh my god, it's not that video. It's not. No, it's like you can check it.
Wow. I have no idea.
But
I
the
mean,
fact, but
I can't find it. Is it like
the cover, it's like the rendering of the mountain of Björkingels. It's all bluish.
that's Oliver Thomas?
Yeah, and in if you go with the mouse on top of the video, on the other side there
Yeah.
is one more guy. Like the one in the middle is Oliver Thomas, then there is you, and then there is one more time. One more guy.
Oh, that's Oliver. That's Oliver. That's his
They're
name
two
is Oliver as
Olivers.
well.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
why we're
So,
getting confused here.
so have you heard of Upstairs, the channel?
Yes, of course, the blue one.
Yes. So he's the guy who runs Upstairs. Is
Oh,
Oliver,
okay, that's
and
cool.
he's from Brazil. So we normally like that Oliver and me. We normally make videos on conversations, portfolio reviews, and we made one with Oliver Thomas.
So shout out to Upstairs channel. The
Yeah, shout out to Upstairs.
Brazilian Oliver is also welcome to the Creative Insider to
Of
tell his
course, you
story.
have to invite him. He's very
Um,
cool.
no, but I like that. Not like you invite people and you're more like the face of the show, because I don't know, makes me feel more connected. Because for example, when I watched the video about diagrams like Björkingels, what you got me lost with is that I start a video and you say like you export the model from SketchUp, and I'm like, at Björkingels group they don't use SketchUp. I know that. So but it was like make it
I
look like
know.
no,
Yeah.
but it's like it's I learned like a lot of things from your channel, so I cannot complain. I was just making a joke for you, so that but I like that it's more like in the whole things about the books. I think you're like very good at reviewing that things. Maybe that's why you want to do a major in literature, history, or philosophy.
You think maybe I want to evolve into a more like general topic kind of channel, not so technically based of ArcViz, because that's like a whole topic which I love, but I'm not an expert on. So I think it would be interesting to evolve into something that is more review based. Reviewing books would be like the ultimate goal, in reviewing images, movies, whatever. But for now, we're just working on this,
But I
seeing where it
think
goes.
I think that with your channel you have the opportunity to make it like more like a podcast, because like your channel, yes, it's like architecture oriented, but it's called Show It Better. And like what the skills you involve is to take an architectural project, but you apply matte painting, you apply graphic design because you do all the layouts, you do videos, you do animations. So you could actually do like the Show It Better extended version of a podcast, where maybe what you could do is like just talk to people from other industries and then get inspired from their skills to apply them into the Show It Better channel. I'm just giving you ideas. Like I
No,
think
I'm receiving them. Thank you. I mean, they're very good ideas.
I think it would be cool, like to be like for example, you could invite anybody that's a creative person, like because you could invite writers, because people who do a architectural project, they have to write. You can invite like people that make videos, because you make videos and you are like coming from architecture. Graphic designers, it's like how you show architecture. Even musicians, because I've heard a lesson from Neto Sobellano. Unfortunately, it was after an overnighter. Like Neto Sobellano is this Spanish architect based in Germany. He's really good. but he played music during his presentation, and I hadn't slept the night before, and I was in the first row and I fall asleep, and people told me that I was even
Oh
snoring,
gosh.
but it was so good to see presentation with music on the background.
It was so good that you slept the whole presentation.
No, I checked the most important projects, but it was really like interesting that he was playing. If you play music in the background and you show your projects, it's something really interesting. It's the first time and the only time I've seen that. But yeah, I think this is like the I think that you have the platform, and this could be a natural going out of the niche, I think.
Well, thank you. I mean, hearing it from someone outside of like Show It Better is very interesting, and I'm going to take that into account. Thank you.
I would be curious to see what you come up. And what is the process nowadays with Show It Better? Because of course you have evolved since the first video to now. Like, what is your, like, is it the gear important, or have you been always resourceful? Like, what kind of cameras you use? I always like to ask this stuff, but they're very obvious. But I like, it's really simple to have like a kit that probably works for you, won't work for everybody, but it's just like, what cameras, what microphones, what do you use, how much time it takes nowadays to make a video?
Well, I'm evolving into like a very classic YouTuber, so it's nothing that is very like new or something that you haven't heard of before. But since before they were just mostly tutorials with a voiceover on them, I was just doing it with a Blue Yeti microphone and just recording over my voice. But after I've implemented my face, the whole video, like a whole setup, like a whole scene, I'm trying to make it a very top-notch quality, which I haven't achieved yet, but I think that's the goal. For now, I'm using like a normal DSLR camera. I think it's a Sony camera. I'm using this microphone. It's a Shure MV7, and I recently, but it's like all those upgrades were in this year. I mean, last year and the year before that, it was just like very normal, basic videos with a very old camera that I had. And this year, I also bought a Godots soft bots, which is like the light. If you're ugly, if you're not, like physically good for cameras, that just makes you look a little bit better. So yeah, I have like those three things, which are very like YouTuber classic kind of stuff. And I'm trying to I'm recording in my apartment, which I have like my workspace in, and I also have like my living room which it looks a little bit more relaxed. So that's kind of what I'm using right now. Hey, well, I have a question off off the record. Can you hear the rain? It started raining here. Can you hear it?
A little bit, yeah. It's
Oh, okay. Is it maybe like an inconvenience, or is it?
no, it's okay. Like, people are at home when they do the podcast, so it's fine.
Okay,
Like,
because I'm hearing it like super hard. I don't know if like the microphone is catching up.
yeah, it's
like, all
catching
that.
it. I can hear it too, but it is like, it's okay.
Okay.
It stopped. Don't worry.
Yeah. No. Yeah. The thing is, yeah. Since we're in the tropic, it rains and
Oh
it has
yeah,
sun and everything like in the same day. So
here it's super cold.
anything can happen.
Here it's super cold.
I don't envy you.
To ask you one more question, because I'm really curious, like, what is the method you edit your videos? So like, do you record your screen and talk right away you do the things, or you record the screen, then put it in, I don't know, Premiere or whatever software you use, and then somehow make a voiceover, record the voiceover? If you can like guide us through, like, what, once you have shoot everything, or what is the actual process to build it together?
Recently what I've been doing is, like, I'm going to explain like the whole process. Recently what I've been doing is, first I create a script, right? The script has like a general outline of what the video is about. If it's a very tutorial based, where I have to show my computer screen, click here, click there, open this, open that, then I indicate all of that on camera, and I record, like I try to type in all the script, and try to script also the steps, each step. So this, like, step number one, open Photoshop. Step number two, import your image, etc., etc. And after I have recorded the script, I recorded my screen without any voiceover, like 2 or 3 times, to see how the image goes, just like kind of like creating an actual image. Then I import all of that into Premiere Pro. I record myself talking to the camera with the script in mind, and I merge, both the voiceover and the screen recording, and I try to compose it in a more or less interesting way, which sometimes can be hard for tutorials that are very long, or that have more like the same steps that had the last tutorial. So I'm trying to make it interesting, and then I edit it. If there's any like special editing in mind, I go into After Effects. But that's like the basic process. Script, record, then record the voice, and then edit it in Premiere.
So you record. What do you record your screen? What is the specific
With
software?
OBS.
OBS. Yeah, that's the easy one. And then do you record the audio also in OBS, or you record it in, I don't know, some other software, and then you just put it over?
I also record in OBS.
Everything.
OBS
so
in OBS.
But do you like rewatch the video on OBS and then you talk on the video, or like because your videos are not like extremely, not all of them it's extremely long. Like there are like some tutorials that are 10 minutes, 11 minutes. So I guess you film way longer and then you talk over, no?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like an image, like the image that is the fastest can take 45 minutes, but normal process like 45 minutes to up to 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours. So, but since I have it scripted in my mind, since I have like the steps that I think I'm going to take, which is, a process, maybe for a video, it's a 25% SketchUp in modeling, 25% V-Ray, then the other 25% in Photoshop. Then I try to, when I cut up the video after in OBS, I try to reduce 5 minutes to SketchUp, 5 minutes to V-Ray, and 5 minutes to Photoshop, even if I have to make it faster or just cut up some parts that aren't really like relevant for the viewer. You just have to, I mean, it's something that I'm trying to refine each step and with each video. But sometimes people, when they want to go to a tutorial, they just want to have like the exact information in the fastest way possible. They don't want you to linger into, a ton of subjects. So I'm trying to make it as concise, as precise as possible each time with, it's hard sometimes, but that's what like the basic goal is for the tutorial based videos.
It's super, super interesting, the process. I like it. I was thinking when you were explaining the process of making a video that you could make a tutorial about how to make a video like yours. You know why? Because now it's like I'm always thinking, like, since I'm doing this podcast, I have so many interesting people on the podcast, and I always think how you can do things different. And then I was thinking that nowadays, if you had like, because I do the job from like in the architectural office, and I know like what is the reality, and like what you do at university, it's like what you think you're gonna do, but it's like the most fun part. And for example, a great idea of Show It Better, to know to do a video like Show It Better, would be like I think for companies would be valuable if they can do like a short video which they present the project and send it to the client. Like instead of sending them the presentation, sending them a video with which they would explain everything way better. And I think that would be like a Show It Better, like way to show it better, to just nowadays everything digital and we don't meet in person. So this would be like a really cool way to do like, instead of using the video to make a tutorial, to make a video to explain the project would be like super cool.
No, I completely agree. I think like in the future, more and more architecture students will have to learn how to use Premiere and After Effects to explain their ideas, because it's just faster, it's better sometimes. And if we continue making, in meetings that are online based, then it's much more efficient to explain ideas with a video. But sometimes I've tried to create tutorials that are mostly, pushing architects to creating more video. And I received like two kinds of comments. One is like a person, that is super excited, like, hey, thank you, Steven. I love this. I'm going to implement it. And the other one is like, oh, what are you thinking? I mean, my university teacher doesn't let me do this. My client or my boss would never agree with this. I would never use this in my real life. Because to be honest, I mean, I understand them. There's some real bosses that, I don't know, like 50, 60 years old, they still want the classic way of presenting ideas, and they think it's the best way. And they're very conservative in their mind. They think it's perfect. Or some teachers, they also think, that if you draw by hand, if you do everything by hand, if you do your presentation boards by hand, everything, then it will be the best way possible. But if you create a video, if you create a render, then that's just like a capital sin or whatever. So it's still like there's a lot of conservative people in the architecture community that don't fully understand where communicating ideas is going, and maybe they're going to understand it a little bit late. So we're trying to deal with those people as well, which is kind of hard for students and kind of hard for employees. And that's something that maybe if you're an employer listening to this, try to be more open about how you communicate ideas, because it's not that it's something that we're talking about, maybe that's a fairy tale to whatever. It's something that it's effective. Like, it can bring conversion, it can bring clients in. I mean, if only more architects that are employees understood how effective like this whole Instagram, YouTube, social media thing is, they wouldn't be over there, in their classic wardrobes, with their classic speeches doing what they do. They would try to evolve and try to be much more involved in like what the rest of the world is doing. But that's like a whole different conversation.
No, but I think that the comments when they say that the teacher or the boss would never let them do that, it's because I don't know about the teacher, and I think that if you really at the university and you really like, for anyone who will listen to this conversation, if you're at the university, don't do what your teacher says, do what you like, because later you won't do whatever you like. You have to do what your boss tells you. But even if with your boss, the only reason for which one boss wouldn't let you do it is because they will think this will take too much time and it won't add and we don't have to do it because our client is not paying for that. But if you figure out like streamlined process to make it quickly, like to not make it to take too long, like if you could use just the picture that you would already use for like the presentation in PowerPoint or whatever you're gonna do it, and you can always like tell your boss like this is not only for the client. You can create an Instagram account, and now on Instagram we have Reels, we have Instagram TV, we have YouTube, and and architects, I don't know how it is around the world, but for example in Germany they're not allowed to pay for commercials, so they cannot go and put like a poster on the buses or in TV because it's like a protected what is called like you're in a protected field that you have to be licensed. So I don't know what exactly is law, but you cannot promote it. So but the only like loophole in the system are social media. So I think that for the people who might listen, I would suggest, as somebody that's coming from the professional world and I've had all these ideas and I know how hard it is to convince your office, it's always to like show them why it's like important for them and how it will make them money, because that's what they're focus about. So I think that's cool.
Yeah, and I think there are a ton of examples that have already succeeded that we can look at. I mean, first of all, I think of another, fellow YouTuber friend, which is, 30 by 40, Eric Reinhold.
Oh yeah.
Is through marketing, through YouTube, through Instagram, that he has kept going as an architect for residential, high tier clients. And the other one is like Chris Precht from Panda Architects, I think.
Yeah.
Which also has leveraged his Instagram account and has achieved so much following, so many new clients, and is very distinctive in his design. And that's because of social media, because he started sharing his ideas, because he created videos, he created the process, he showed his process. So I think there are a ton of ways to do it. It's not like you have to create videos or you have to create Instagram carousels, but there are ways that can adapt to your way of making architecture, or being an architect, or being an architecture student, or whatever, that can help you take like a lead inside of like the general market. But it's about taking a risk, obviously. And if you don't, then you're going to stay in the traditional kind of realm.
No, and be proactive. Like if your boss doesn't make you do something, you can do it proactively, like do it in your free time, and then go to your boss and say, like, I did that for you. Do you like it? If the boss still doesn't like it, guess what? You're gonna show it to another person. Maybe you're gonna show it to Chris Precht, and you're gonna go to work for a cooler office. Like
exactly.
I think that people should, and I don't think that I mean, I don't know, but I don't think you should be so much affected by negative comments under your channel, because I think that nowadays, like, no matter what you do, people will like criticize it, because it's just so easy.
No, it's very easy to get offended or to get affected by that. At first, it was very hard. It was very hard to not pay attention to that. Or if you start right now creating a YouTube channel, it's very hard as well. But it's something that you have to like face and kind of manage. But the people in YouTube can be very critical. It can be very honest, which sometimes can hurt, but it's something that you have to manage. And the last thing, like on the idea that we were talking about, just so people can dimension like the importance of the subject. I was recently talking to a software company. I'm not going to say the name because, obvious reasons, but we were talking to a software company about many subjects, maybe doing a potential partnership. And we were talking about social media, how that software company which is kind of like a conservative software company. It's not like one of the new ones, can communicate their ideas better or can get much more clients. And at the end, what we like the conclusion that we arrived to, or that they arrived to, is this is like a $1 million company, and they arrived to the conclusion that what they need is a YouTuber, but that is also an architect that can also edit videos, that can also talk to a camera, that can also have like the proficiency of understanding a program, but also showing it to people. So they were basically describing like what we do, right? Like what Show It Better does, what Upstairs does, was what many of us do now. And they said that they tried to get that profile. They tried to look for a position, open a position so people can apply for it, but nobody had those requirements. Nobody was an architect that knew video editing, that knew how to create an Instagram post, that knew or that had the courage to talk to a camera. So, I mean, there is like a very big market or a very big opportunity for this kind of specific profile that can improve like any type of company, that software company, but also your architectural office, or maybe your ArchViz office. But it's kind of like you as an employer or you as an employee trying to gain those skills, trying to be, hey, I'm going to learn video editing. I'm going to learn things that I don't usually learn in my job, and try to leverage the company that I'm working for or the company that I'm running. And you can see, you're going to eventually see the effects of that in the clients and real world. But just to make you guys understand that it is like a real need for companies that they don't realize, and they are realizing a little bit too late. And some architects that need jobs maybe need to open up their set of skills and try to learn different things so they can offer those opportunities or those skills to companies that want them.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, I think that everything is possible, and if you believe in something, if you think it's a good idea, you should still work on it, develop it, put it out there, and maybe you'll take that opportunity for yourself. If your office where you work stays behind the development of the world, then maybe it's time for to step up and take over somehow. I don't know. I always think in myself that I might, compared to your channel, the numbers are completely different. I'm hoping to get my first hater anytime soon because it will.
I know that feeling. I understand. I wanted that as well. I remember that. I wanted my first dislike. I'm like, when are people going to start disliking my video, man? Why are so many likes only? And as soon as I started receiving them, I'm like, come on, are you seriously going to dislike this video? I just gave you free content or whatever. But I understand your feeling. It's yeah, you want a hater. You want haters. Haters
Yeah,
also
are good.
kind of form you as a good content creator. So haters are good in proportion, but they're good.
Yeah, like I'm myself. I'm not a hater. Like I think that I don't have time to hate people, so I just like stop watching if I hate something. I was like, fuck this shit.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch it. But like it's and after I started making like content, I was like, oh, this is like every hater should start making content for like even one video to understand how difficult it is, and that like yeah, and nobody's perfect. Like here, like a person, as we were saying, everybody's a person, so they don't have to be perfect. They just trying to do something, uh, and um, yeah, like I think it's stupid to like it's part of the people, I guess, but hating. And I don't think you should. Also, I don't think that you should too much focus on the negative comments under your videos, but you should focus on the positive one and do more content for those people.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but I don't agree 100% because like I kind of like the haters inside of my community because they some haters have kind of the truth in some occasions when you know you haven't worked 100% in your video, when you know you haven't done all of your possibilities for to give that piece of content the best that it can be, then those people let you know that. And then sometimes, not in the best way, but sometimes in a very decent way, like, hey, you can make very, very better videos, or what happened here, or just like a dislike button. So if I only received positive comments, it would also like blind me and tell me like, hey, I think I'm doing everything perfect. But I think it's necessary for me to learn how to accept positive or a content creator to accept positive and negative comments in a like a measured way, but not take them anything as truth, not even the positive or the negative ones, just because they're just random people sitting in front of a computer that have the power to say, I don't like this or I like this, and that's it. Like, they're random people. They're not like the
But
gods or whatever.
I don't mean like, for example, for me a hater is somebody that like will just give you a bad comment and like tell you
Oh
like
yeah, yeah, for
that's a
sure.
hater. Like I want to distinguish like a hater from like some
A critic.
negative some negative critic, or like some critique
Yeah,
can be good because it will make you grow. But if somebody hates you on like some or if it's something negative that goes to some core beliefs of yours, like for example, let's make the example of the videos. If you think like video presentation of architecture projects will have a future or has some future for your personal belief, and somebody tells you no, like this is total bullshit, you're a dreamer, you don't know shit because you don't work in the industry or something like that, you can still believe in your like in this value. Maybe don't do all your content about that because then people are going to stop watching, but maybe make an example, or maybe try to find some people from the industry that will be like, oh, we actually would like to have that, and so on. That's what I meant. Like, don't get like, of course, critique if it's like, hey, Steven, by the way, in this video the audio it's not so cool. This is like a good, like could be a good thing to push you to be better. But if somebody tells you you're just stupid because you don't understand, I don't think that's the kind of critique to listen to. um and at what point the like one thing that no, like people don't really know about or don't really understand about like being content creators, that by creating your audience, you monetize the audience. It sounds bad, but I think it's very positive because we all have to eat. um like what point did you come up with the idea, okay, I can start creating all these assets like courses, um you do like a portfolio, what is called templates, layout templates, I think you have some Photoshop libraries, stuff like that. At what point you thought, okay, maybe I should start expanding in that direction?
Well, it wasn't a certain point, like or a certain eureka moment. It just kind of like evolved into what it is now. So at first, the most logical product that I was selling was the, the files of the tutorials I was teaching. But eventually, people started requesting courses, so I started releasing courses. But then after they started releasing, they started requesting resources for their images, so I started releasing that. So kind of like the audience was kind of telling me where I should, monetize the whole project. And right now we're in a point where we have like all of those things running, and all of those things are monetizing, the audience, and are generating a good revenue for Show It Better. But maybe in the future, like, I have no idea, how this creator economy is going to evolve. And I can't fight with it. I'm just going to try to see what's the best for the architecture student, or the architect that is in his office, trying to solve how to create that plan in the best way possible so he can win the competition. I just have to think like in that perspective, and like how I can help him or her. And for now, those revenue streams are just coming in naturally. And but if tomorrow, they say, that the best way to monetize and give value to the people is maybe generating merch, which I don't think, but like an example, like generating merch or generating actual notebooks or whatever, then I think, you will naturally evolve into that. But it's been a process, and it hasn't been like a very clear from the start. It's been like something that I'm trying to find out, trying to test out, see if it works. If it doesn't, then I move on to the next thing.
Yeah, or maybe like maybe collaboration, like an integrational course, like where, I don't know, David does the sketching part, you do the representation part, and then the what is called the 30 by 40, like his name,
Eric?
Eric does the business part, and then you have alternative to university, basically.
Yeah, I mean, there's a potential for like a whole academy with all the educators and YouTubers out there and content creators that are sometimes, to be honest, providing much more value than what a professor can provide in any history or whatever class they teach. So, you know,
And is it been advantageous for you that you could do content in, like, I come from Bulgaria, you come from Colombia, like from a country that it's not like where you make a lot of money like an architect, as you said yourself, and through your content you can expand abroad, and then you're basically independent, so to say, in your country. And where is your audience mainly come from? Because, for example, at the Bless Architect audience, it's mainly from India, for example. I discovered that in our podcast. How about that aspect of your work?
well, yeah, it's been advantageous that the content is in English, and that I'm in a country like Colombia, because the creator economy is something that is growing by the moment each day. And it obviously pays much better than what a normal architectural office would pay any day. Like, even if you had 3 years, 4 years of experience trying, doing competitions, it doesn't compare to what maybe creating kind of like this sort of enterprise would give you. And the audience has been changing, and it's been evolving since the start. At first, it was a very Europe and United States based audience. I think it was because of the time. But as soon as like, I've seen trends of people, or like general countries or regions evolve, where there's a time where, people in India are very into content, are very into consuming YouTube, and in that moment, India is my biggest audience. But sometimes the whole Latin America, Hispanic region is very into consuming content, and then at that time, Mexico, Colombia, Argentina, Brazil are kind of the biggest audience. So I can't say like I've always had very faithful Indian community, or I don't know, whatever, European, but it's just been changing. And I think that's what's mostly interesting, because a lot of people that have never seen anything like Show It Better or anything like Upstairs are always discovering it, or like new generations are discovering it, and maybe after they're going to discover it, when there are 5 years graduated, and they try to discover it something through YouTube. So right now I have a very Latin American and an Asian based Asian based community, but I think in the future it will totally change.
But you mean like subscribers or just viewers? Because I think he was mentioning
Everything.
Okay.
Everything. I mean, from the followers on Instagram to the subscribers on YouTube to the viewers, everything is always like fluctuating. And right now, that's like the regions that are mostly consuming you show it better.
Yeah, that's really interesting. But I mean, yeah, the thing that you do it in English, it's very advantageous. And if you were doing it in Spanish, you would cover like almost everybody in the world, because those are the two most spoken languages, Spanish and English.
Yeah, I that was kind of a debate from the beginning, if I was to do it in Spanish or English. But at that moment, in 2015, I saw an opportunity that was mostly towards like a lot of, I could reach much more people in English than in Spanish. So that's why I decided to do it in English. But right now, I mean, yeah, it could be 50-50. I mean, if I know there are a lot of good YouTube channels around architecture that are only Spanish based, and they are really successful, and they don't even need anything else. That with only the Spanish community, it's a ton of people.
Yeah, that's true. And one thing that I always wondered when I saw like channels like yours, it's like, where do you guys take all these projects? Do you do them yourself, like, or are these like projects of yours, or like, because having like, I don't know, how do you like, yeah, we're gonna do like a site plan. Where like, do you come up with a project that's somewhere on the internet, or how do you do like the project itself?
Well, it varies sometimes, or there are some occasions where I'm working on a project, like a personal project, or I had worked on a project in my previous jobs, and I really liked the result. I really thought that it was like a very different result, and I tried to show it in the tutorial with like the floor plan or design that I was creating at that time. But sometimes when it isn't that natural, I try to, I've always seen like very good types of representation of drawings in the internet. And I try to see like, hey, this is something that I haven't seen before, very innovative. And if I were to try, or let's just try and see how this image can be created. I create it. And if I see that it's very easy to create, or it's very practical to teach, then I create a tutorial on it, like reference-based tutorials, where I get a reference from very popular images at that moment.
I see. And do you need to also like sometimes learn yourself, because like of course also the tools evolve
all the time. All the time. I mean, I begun with this whole ArcViz thing, only with SketchUp and Photoshop. That's basically it. But kind of like the whole wave of Show It Better, or trying to teach new things to people, obviously makes me be the first one who has to learn a ton of stuff. So I'm always trying to learn from very technical things in many programs, to very broad and general topics on design, on graphic design, or maybe even on the setup for your computer. I have to learn it just so I can tell someone else like, hey, the computer that you need is this one, or you need a RAM with this size and not that other size. So I'm the first one who has to learn a ton of stuff.
Yeah, like I can imagine, because also the tools are always like evolving.
Yeah.
And how do you like, one thing that for me it's I really don't like doing in the beginning of my podcast, because I need to do solo episodes, it's scripting. Because I did it like really, because when you're not comfortable talking about something at the first time, I had to write down everything like I would say it, and then just read it and try to be natural. How do you come up with the content ideas, like because that also has to be like sort of always different, because if you do 20 tutorials about how to do a site plan, or 20 tutorials about how to do diagrams, won't be like, at some point you teach the same thing. So what is the, how do you try to make that?
Well, I try to every 3 or 6 months try to get a notebook, maybe go outside or go to some place that is not my office, and try to write down 50 or maybe 60 video ideas, like in a not in very like, thoughtful manner, but just in a very fast way, like which would be the ideas that I would be interested in making. And after I type in 60 random ideas, I try to filter those 60 maybe to half of them that would actually make good videos. And then after those half, I would maybe make another filter that is like good plus viral plus interesting to make, or like easy to make. So it's like every now and then I kind of make those lists, and I have a ton of lists like on the computer or on many notebooks. And when sometimes I'm just like really uninspired, I try to look at any of those lists and try to see what would be an interesting topic. That's like one of the techniques that I use. The other one is kind of like recycling content between Instagram and YouTube. So sometimes on Instagram we touch on topics that are not even related to softwares, or are very broad in the whole general like architectural aspect. And you know that in Instagram obviously you can see like you can filter your publications by the most popular to the least popular, and I always try to go back to the most popular ones and try to see, you know, if you know which topic would have we haven't touched in the YouTube community that would be interesting, or like which Instagram post I can convert into a video. And I can, you know, also reverse that. If I need a video for an idea for an Instagram post, I can also look into my videos to see which one I can recycle.
Yeah, that's I mean, a very cool and efficient way to organize it. And when you were saying this, I was wondering, are you very like organized as a person? Like, are you very like structured, so to say, in your processes? Do you have certain like how do you say it, habits? Like, because also David was saying that he's like an habit animal. He needs to be like, he doesn't need to, but he's like doing things, I think, kind of structured.
I don't think so. I don't think I'm very similar to David. I am very disorganized. I'm very emotional. I have very emotional decisions, and I'm very I'm very determined by the time I am, like the time of um I don't know how to explain it in English, but like in the era that I am in my life, I'm based in that. So for example, like if there is a time in my life where I prioritize myself going out, being with friends, being prioritizing my mental health and my physical health, then I will try to organize my life around that. And I try to leave 4 hours for work every day. Maybe if this is like from 6 to 9 p.m. And the rest of the day, I will try to do, you know, the rest of the things. Right now, you know, unfortunately, I'm not in that state. I'm mostly in a productive state where I have to manage and administrate a ton of stuff, which is kind of like a little bit boring. But right now, I'm trying to work like in two different blocks in the day. So the first one is like from 9 to, or like from 8 to 12, where I'm working a ton in, you know, responding emails and solving little problems and stuff. and then I go to the gym, I have lunch, I take out my dog, and from 3 p.m. to, or yeah, from 3 or 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. I'm working on much more creative things, like creating that YouTube video, or creating a course, or creating something new, or planning on the Instagram post for tomorrow with the community manager. So that's kind of how I divide my day today. But it always changes. I mean, in 6 months, it can be totally something different. And I'm trying to make a change. I'm trying to always make a ton of things like in my life, because if I only dedicate myself to one project, I can get bored very easily. And I've tried doing that. I've tried being with only Show It Better. And I've kind of, not liked it as much, because you eventually get bored. It eventually comes as like it becomes in a job, right? Like a job that you are each day, every day doing the same thing. And that's the least thing that I want, is to make Show It Better, a project like this, a boring project. So I'm trying to always do a ton of things. I'm trying to make artistic projects on the side. I'm trying to maybe work with other people, do other types of YouTube projects that are kind of similar to Show It Better. But I'm trying to have a lot of things on the table. So whenever, I want to change my dynamics, I change them, but still, like, nothing destroys or nothing like explodes. So I'm not, that's why I'm not very similar to David, because I have a ton of habits in a ton of different ways.
Like periodical habits, like
Yeah.
you balance it, but more like in longer period of time than in like on a daily basis. You just balance like in this longer time frames. Well,
Yeah.
talking about time, I would be talking to you for like hours and hours, but I want you to do also the rest of your task today. But I always like to conclude the episode with each guest to build sort of this toolbox of inspiration, because everybody as a creative have these dips they enter into, where they're a little bit lower in inspiration, they're a little bit loss of motivation. So you can pick something of the following things. You don't have to pick everything of everything. But if you have some movie or song or a place where you go, or maybe a sport or something that you like to pick up back when you feel on this a little bit lower points, to give you a little bit of buzz of inspiration, of motivation. Is there something like that, or a podcast?
Oh my God, there's so many things. There's so many things I do, because
But pick
it
the
is something that,
first thing. Like everybody says, whether there is nothing or there is too many things. Like just the first thing that comes in your mind.
the first thing is exercise, gym. That's the first thing that I need to have, like when I'm in a normal state, but when I'm also in a very stressed state, or very low creatively, when I just stop doing everything and go to the gym. That's the my where I breathe, sort of. That's the first thing. But there are a ton of other methods that you can use, and it really depends on what kind of a rut you're stuck in. But for anything, exercising is like the best way to get out of it.
Well, I think that's a very good suggestion. So thank you, Stephen. All the people, go check Show It Better on YouTube, and Let's Show It Better on Instagram. I'll be put all the links below that you can go check it. And thank you for your time, Stephen. It was a real pleasure, and you're always welcome back whenever you like.
No, thank you, Georgi, for the invitation. And I am looking forward to hearing this after, and hearing all the super guests that you're going to have. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.